Let me ask you something before I even say hello. When you walked into your classroom this morning, or when you think about the children in your care right now, what were you asked to accomplish today? What was on the agenda? What was the mandate? I'm going to guess it wasn't to let children be children. I'm going to guess the agenda looked something like hit this standard, cover this skill, make sure they're ready, ready for kindergarten, ready for first grade, ready for the next thing. And I want to sit with that for a moment because that pressure, that urgency to rush children toward the next phase of their life before they've had a chance to fully live this one, that is one of the most damaging forces in early childhood education today. We are in a crisis of childhood, and most of us are being asked to participate in every single day. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Dr. Denisha Jones. I'm a scholar activist who spent 20 years in early childhood teacher education. I'm a true play advocate, and I'm a creator of Free to Teach equals Liberated to Learn. I'm so glad you're here. If you're joining this for the first time, this is my new live series, Embracing Early Childhood Education and Care Values as Resistance. It's an 11-week series that happens every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 6 p.m. Central Time on Facebook Live. We're going to gather here to dig into the values that should be guiding our work with young children. I might give TikTok a try in the future, but for now, I'm starting on Facebook. Each week, we take one professional early childhood and education and care value from a list I generated for a call for papers for a special issue I edited titled Navigating an Uncertain Future by Embracing Early Childhood Education and Care Values for the Global Education Review. I'm going to add a blue QR code to your screen, and you can scan that to view the first issue that was published just a few weeks ago. After discussing the value and why it's important, I will share how to use it with a framework I developed to embrace it as a form of resistance. Though I miss teaching college students, I promise you that this is not a lecture. I don't like lecturing. I didn't like lecturing when I was being paid to teach, and so I definitely don't want to do that with you, this conversation with you now. This is a conversation. So please share your thoughts in the comments. I will be reading them and responding as we go. And if you're watching this recording later, then I'll respond to your comments then. If you're watching it on my YouTube page, be sure to like and subscribe as well. Tonight, we are on week 2 of the series, and the value we're sitting with is this: recognizing childhood as a unique, sacred phase of life that must be nurtured and protected. So let's get into it. When I say childhood is sacred, I want to be clear about what I mean, because this is not sentimental language. This is not about making childhood cute or precious. This is about recognizing that the early years are a distinct, irreplaceable phase of human development with its own logic, rhythms, and needs. And that what happens during this phase has profound consequences for the rest of a person's life. So here's a number I want you to hold on to: 1,825. From birth to age 5, a child has approximately 1,825 days. That's it. That's the window. And how a child spends each of those days matters deeply to their development. Now, here is where here's what I want you to think about. When we fill those days with pressure to perform, with scripted curricula, with assessments designed to sort children by what they can and cannot yet do, we're not preparing children for their future. We are actively stealing their present. What does it look like to honor this value? It looks like making sure each day is joyful and engaging for every child. It looks like protecting time for children to play freely, not just in learning centers or not in structured activities disguised as play, but in genuine child-led free play. It looks like knowing what a child is exploring. When they're exploring that sensory table, it's learning. They are learning exactly what they need to learn, exactly the way they need to learn it. What does it look like when we violate this value? It looks like 4-year-olds sitting in a chair for 30 to 45 minutes because the district says so. It looks like teachers who love children are being forced to move through lessons that have no connection to who those children are, what they care about, or how they develop. It looks like evaluating young children who are still in diapers or pull ups through a deficit lens, asking not who this child is, but what is this child missing? That's not education, that is harmful. I want to pause here and ask you something directly. I'm going to put this up on the screen, and also I'm going to add it to the comments. What is one way your program or school honors childhood as sacred and one way that it doesn't, right? So let me go to the comments now and add this here for you to take a look at. Please also use the comments. I should be able to see them if they pop up. There we go. But I just was able to post that for you guys. And it'll be on the screen for a little while. I'm going to give you a moment to respond, and I want to share something while you're thinking it over. I hear from teachers all the time who say, I know children need to play, I believe that, but I don't have time. And I want to name something about that. The belief that you don't have time to honor childhood is not a personal failure. It's the result of a system that was designed to prioritize accountability over development. You've been put in an impossible situation, and you did not create that situation. But here's where I also know. You have more agency than the system wants you to believe. And the first step in reclaiming that agency is being clear about your values, knowing in your bones what you believe children need, so that when the pressure comes, and it will come, you have something to stand on. That is what this series is for. So I'm going to check the comments and pause for just a moment. Let's see if we got anyone here. And of course, again, if you're watching this recording later, you can add to the comments then, no worries. But if you're here now and you want to jump in and you want to say something, this is your moment. I am happy to have a conversation with you live while we're here. All right, I will keep checking the comments to see if anyone has anything to add, but let's keep going. I want to spend some time with a framework that I developed that underlies all this work, because I don't want to just tell you what to believe. I want to give you a tool you can actually use. The framework has 4 parts, and I'm going to put that up on the screen as well for you to take a look at. And so tonight I want to walk you through all 4 of them in relation to this value, recognizing childhood as sacred. So you can see them up on the screen. And so part 1 says name your value. And this sounds simple, but it's not. Naming your value means being able to articulate clearly and specifically what you believe all children need and what guides your moral commitments to high quality early childhood education and care. So let me ask you, can you say it out loud in plain language what you believe about childhood? Not what your program says, not what the standards require, what you believe. Here's what I believe. Childhood is the most important developmental period in a human's life. There are 1,825 days from birth to 5 years old. How a child spends each of those days matters. Children deserve a childhood where joy is the norm, not the reward, not the break from real learning, the norm. That is a value statement. And when you can say yours out loud, when you can name it clearly, it becomes something you can stand on when the pressure comes. So I want you to practice this in finishing this. Here we go. It's going to come up on your screen right now. Finish this sentence. I believe all children. Oh, I put up the wrong thing on the screen, of course. Here it is. Okay. Sorry about that. There you go. I believe all children need blank, right? That is the value statement that I want you to work on. You can share your thoughts in the comments. If you put them in later, if you're watching this recording, I will go ahead and respond to those as well too. All right, part 2, conduct an alignment audit. Once you've named your value, you have to look honestly at what it's getting in the way of it. An alignment audit asks 3 things. What policies prohibit you from enacting this value? What behaviors show you are operating out of alignment with it? And what are the early warning signs that you are drifting away from it? Let me be honest about what that looks like for this value. The policies that prohibit us from enacting it are everywhere right now. Mandated scripted curricula for 3 and 4-year-olds, assessment regimens that evaluate children before they had a chance to simply be children. Federal decisions are dismantling the early care and education infrastructure on which millions of families depend. These are not abstract threats. They are landing in your classrooms every day. The behaviors that show misalignment, children sitting still for long periods of time because the schedule demands it, teachers moving through lessons that have no connection to who the children are in front of them, conversations about children that begin and end with what they cannot do yet. And the early warning sign, the one I want you to watch for, is this. When you catch yourself thinking about children primarily through the lens of what they are not yet ready for, that is the signal. That is the moment to pause and ask, whose framework am I operating in right now? And is it mine? Part 3, frame the message. This is where we get strategic. Framing the message means constructing the case for your value, clearly explaining why it matters, what it looks like when you live it, and what it feels like to be in alignment with it. Here's the frame that I would use for this value. There are only 1,825 days from birth to age 5. We nurture childhood by valuing each one. We protect childhood by making sure each day is joyful for every child. When you live this value, it looks like protecting time for child-led free play, not because you're ignoring the curriculum, but because you understand that play is the curriculum. In the early years, right? Play is what matters. It looks like making sure the environment you create communicates to every child, you are safe here, you are seen here, you belong here. It looks like measuring success not by what children can perform on demand, but by what they are, by whether they're thriving physically, socially, emotionally, and intellectually. And what does it feel like? It feels like freedom. It feels like you are doing what you know is right. It feels like joy, not just for the children, but for you. The feeling is data. When teaching feels like liberation, you are in alignment. When it feels like compliance, something important has been violated. Trust that signal. And then part 4, advocate for your values. Naming your values and auditing your alignment is internal work. Advocacy is what happens when you take that work into the world. Advocacy for this value to me looks like this. When an administrator tells you there's no time for free play because standards have to be met, you do not simply comply. You ask, can I show you what children are developing during play? You make the learning visible. You document it. You name it in the language the system understands. Executive functioning, language development, self-regulation. And you connect it back to what you know about child development. Advocacy looks like refusing to talk about children only in terms of deficits. It looks like calling out the readiness narrative, not by abandoning your professionalism, but by insisting on a different frame. This child is exactly where they need to be. My job is to make today a good day for them. And advocacy looks like finding and building community with other educators who share these values, because you cannot sustain this work in isolation. The system is counting on your isolation. Connection is resistance. Now let's move to our closing. So tonight's value, recognizing childhood as a unique, sacred phase of life that must be nurtured and protected. 1,825 days. Every one of them matters. Your job is not to get children ready for the next thing. Your job is to make sure that today is a good day to be a child. And I say this all the time in my talks that it's a hill I'm willing to die on. Your job is not about preparation for the next year of life. It's about today. So, if tonight's conversation resonated with you, I want to invite you to join my free school community. Free to teach equals liberated to learn, where we continue these conversations every month. You get access to resources, reflective prompts, live guided discussions, and then you can subscribe to additional things. And there's a community of educators who are doing this work alongside you. You can scan the QR code on your screen, and I'll put a link in the comments. Next Wednesday, we move to value 2, valuing children as inherently worthy of respect, dignity, agency, and autonomy without conditions or rewards. Here's a sneak peek of that discussion. Values as resistance. In this live, I'm going to explore the second of 10 early childhood education and care values, valuing children as inherently worthy of respect and dignity, agency, and autonomy without conditions or rewards. During this live, I'm going to help you see a connection between how young children are often required to earn dignity and agency, and how early childhood teachers are often treated without respect and autonomy. If you've already made this connection, then I'm going to give you the conviction you need to embrace this value as a form of resistance. You can join this live by visiting my Facebook page. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Keep going, and I hope to see you on the next live.